my first big loss, that was my dad when I was 20. We lost him to lung cancer, just so young to be losing a
Yeah.
parent. He was only 46.
Oh,
And
that's so
then
young.
lost my mum, 34, and that was to breast cancer. And then when I was 36, I lost my husband to suicide. Um, I was pregnant at the time as well. We weren't long married, so we had a baby on the way in a new home. And yeah, it was just such a shock out of the blue. I thought we had everything and we were really happy. So yeah,
Yeah.
such an awful way to lose somebody.
Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm your host, grief and soul purpose coach and fellow griever, Tara Accardo. Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast, Rachel. I am so excited to have you here. I have just been so loving our correspondence outside of getting all of this finally set up. And you are just such a beautiful energy and such a light. And what you have created with everything that you have been through is seriously so inspiring. And I just want you to tell the world your story and how you've gotten to where you are now. So we'll get into all of that. But first, a big welcome to you.
Oh, it's lovely to meet you, Tara. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, my pleasure. So let's just kick this off by you telling anyone who is listening and doesn't know you just a little bit about yourself, um, where you're from, what you do in your spare time, fun facts, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I am based in Liverpool in the UK. So I've recently got remarried and got a little boy who's 5. He's just started school. So yeah, life's pretty busy with running a business, which we'll talk about, and
Yeah.
yeah, kids parties and football clubs,
Oh, I was gonna say that
sort of
that
thing.
kid probably keeps you busy outside of
Yes.
everything that you're doing. But
Yeah,
I only
yeah.
have a
My
1-year-old,
diary's
and
based
she's
around his. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
oh.
Our schedule is based on their schedule, 100%.
Yes.
Well, I really it was so again, just so glad that we've been able to get connected through the Instagram gods, I believe. And
Yeah.
I really am just I will sing your praises. I'm so inspired by your story. I hate to kind of word it that way, but just you have been through such loss. You and I can also relate to some of that loss, and I will let you tell
Mm.
that part of your story. But that being said, I'd love to kick it over to you and whatever you are comfortable sharing, just kind of walk us through your experience with grief and loss.
Yeah, so yeah, my first big loss, that was my dad when I was 20. We lost him to lung cancer. But yeah, it's just so young to be losing a
Yeah.
parent. He was only 46.
Oh,
And
it's so
then
young.
lost my mum, 34. I was 34. She was 54, 57, I think she was, sorry. And that was to breast cancer. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's sort of close to my heart,
Yeah.
how painful and awful cancer is. And then when I was 36, I lost my husband to suicide. I was pregnant at the time as well. We weren't long married, so we had a baby on the way in a new home. And yeah, it was just such a shock out of the blue. I thought we had everything and we were really happy. So yeah,
Yeah.
such an awful way to lose somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've talked about this in a couple of recent guest episodes, and I thankfully, very thankfully, have not known anyone really close to me, like in my immediate circle, um, who has died by suicide. But I guess I'll just say, sort of had a close call recently, and
Yeah.
it is one of the most humbling, horrifying experiences, even just
Yeah.
to the thought of losing someone like that, but then for you to actually have to go through that and being pregnant at the time, which I definitely want to get into just a little bit with
Yeah.
you, with whatever you're comfortable with. But let's go back really quick to losing your parents because, like
Mm.
I alluded to earlier, you and I have both lost both of our parents to cancer.
Yes.
But for you, you lost your dad first, as you mentioned, quite young, so only 20 years
Mm.
old. I didn't lose my parents until not that it's better or worse, but I lost both of them in my late 20s. So it's not
Mm.
that I was that far along in life, or that my brain
Yeah,
was
that's so young.
that much more developed. But I mean, but 20s, I don't know, there's just such pivotal years in there. So can you talk to us just a little bit about, his cancer journey? Was it
Mm.
A kind of a long journey from diagnosis to when he ultimately died, like, what did that look like for you?
It wasn't that long at all. So he was diagnosed in the January and then he died in the September, which,
Okay.
you know, compared to some cancer battles, you know, it's relatively short, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as you were saying, like late 20s is still so young, and I even
Yeah.
thought losing my mum a bit older was even a bit more difficult, really, because you've sort of had her longer, and you know,
Yeah.
there's just never an easy age at all. But yeah,
No.
being 20 was hard, and I think when you're that young, you don't really quite appreciate sort of the tragedy of it. Like you don't realize
Mhm.
how young your parents are. I think when you're that young.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and how, you know, until you're that age yourself, and I'm approaching, you know, I'm a few years off my dad's age now, and it's
Mhm.
quite a scary thought to think that he was around the same age as me, and how
Yeah.
young
Oh,
that
that's
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably very eye-opening, and again, I'm
Yeah.
gonna use the word humbling because you're just like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I think when anyone kinda gets to the age that their parents were when they died, whatever that age is, like,
Mm,
you're kind of met with your own mortality a little bit, and you're just,
yeah.
like, imagining kind of or especially, like, having a child yourself now
Yeah.
too, which I'm know can complicate that a lot.
Mm,
Being that young, how did you what was the coping process like for you? And there's also a lot of people I talk to here that they're like, I didn't know how to cope because I was so
mm,
young, like, or they didn't
same.
cope very well, quite frankly. So, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, definitely that. Yeah, I speak about this a lot, but people used to say that I was so strong at the time, and
Yeah.
I'd never been called that before, and it was
Mm.
dangerous, really, because I was
Yeah.
like, "Wow, I'm strong. I've got to keep this up." And there really wasn't the sort of community, and you know, there was no social media. People weren't speaking about grief back then like they were
Mhm.
now, so it was still that sort of, you know, just keep it to yourself and crack on with your life, really. And I did that and threw myself into university and
Mhm.
studying, and I don't feel like I dealt with it that much at all at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. How
Um,
was your relationship with your mom at that point? Like, were you still kind of in like the same like city as her? Were you able to like be with her a lot? And just what did that look like? And also, quick question too, do you have any siblings as well?
no, same as you. I saw one of
Okay,
your
only
posts,
child
no
too. Oh,
siblings. Yeah, I know.
yeah,
It's such a scary place to be, isn't it?
it is
Like,
terrifying.
yeah, that's why I decided to have a baby after my mum died, because it was like I haven't
Oh,
got anyone who's like closely related to me.
yeah.
But yeah, I lived with my mum at the time still, but yeah, for a lot of people, I think it can bring the relationship closer. But we sort of clashed a little bit in our grief.
Mhm.
Um, because yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when you're grieving the same person but a different relationship.
Yes,
Um, And yeah, particularly when my mum met a new partner after a year, and I found that quite difficult at the
of
time.
course.
I mean, now I know that, you know, that was wrong to think like that, but it's a lot to deal with, isn't it, when you're young and so confusing?
Yeah, it's like you're still trying to just figure out yourself and your world
Yeah,
and everything going on around
yeah,
you, and then, and
definitely.
yeah, it's like we're a little on the younger side depending on the age, to really understand that, like, your mom was maybe wanting or craving like that just that partnership. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
perhaps, I don't want to put any words in your mom's mouth or anything, but just um deeply missing your father, I would imagine, and still very much mourning that relationship, but also, like, being on the younger side still. She's like, "I don't wanna live the rest of my life, like, completely
Yeah,
alone." So it's like, as a parent, how do you navigate appeasing all parties, so to speak?
yeah,
It's gotta
exactly.
be yeah, so difficult. So
Yeah.
that's so interesting that you guys, like, clashed a little bit. I'm glad you brought that up
Mm,
because it is such a testament to the fact that, like, people truly do grieve differently, like,
yeah.
and whether you realize it kind of or not at the time. Do you feel like your mom, like, one or more of you was a little more, like, outwardly with it? Or, like, what did that I don't know, how did that come up for you guys?
Yeah, I think it was because I was, you know, thinking that I was strong, and I wanted to get on with my life and do my dad proud, and that was what I always had in my head. But yeah, my
Mhm.
mum was naturally sort of, in such a dark place and really
Yeah.
struggling to function. But, being widowed myself later in life, I can, of course, see
Yeah.
why she was struggling so much. It's like, it's, yeah, it was, even though he was my dad, I had a life outside of him. I had my
Yeah.
own life. But when you're widowed, my mum, your life is your partner, isn't it, a lot of the time? And
Yes.
yeah, I couldn't really appreciate it at the time. I suppose we just had completely different ways of dealing with it, and maybe we both found the other ones a little bit difficult to understand.
Yeah,
We were
absolutely.
in a good place, so we got through it. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
Good. Well, let's talk about her a little bit. So, and what were your parents' names, by the way?
my mum was called Pam, and my dad was called Tony.
Okay, great. I was like, I love
No,
mentioning their names when we
no,
can and
I was going to
giving
say it's
giving
so
a
nice to
giving
be
a
asked
name to the
that.
faces. It's so
Yeah,
funny if I'm ever on like a podcast and I'm a guest myself or I'm ever just talking, I always say like my mom, my dad, and I'm just like, when was the last time I said their name? So like, here we
yeah.
go. I'm
No,
gonna
I
say
know
it
that was so
say
nice
it
of you to
proudly.
ask that. Thank you.
Yeah, I love asking that, and I also love when people ask my parents' names too. So I'm like, gotta get that in
Yeah,
there.
I love
But
that.
so for your mom, so talk to me about so her cancer journey then now. So when was she diagnosed after or did she had it? Like what was her diagnosis to
Um,
passing after your dad died?
yeah. So yeah, probably about Yeah, it's probably about sort of 13, 14 years after my dad died, about that time.
Wow, okay.
Um,
So it was a while.
that Yeah, it was a while, and then she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She had the chemotherapy, mastectomy,
Mhm.
and all of that side, and then she actually got to ring the bell in the hospital to say that she'd.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you guys have that as well, don't you?
We do,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I didn't know if it was just a UK thing, but yeah, she got to ring the bell, and it was such a lovely moment. But then it came back quite quickly afterwards. Yeah, it got into her lymph nodes. So then,
Oh.
yeah, we had to go through sort of all the chemotherapy again, but it wasn't going to sort of cure it that time. It was
Mhm.
just slowing it down, and it was quite sudden in the end. So me and my late husband were due to get married in the February, and in the September before, we had an appointment, and the doctor said she'd sort of had 6 to 9 months. But then she died a week later. I think it
Oh
was,
my
yeah, a
god.
couple of weeks later. So she didn't actually make it to the wedding,
Oh,
which was
so
what we were
sorry.
all sort of striving towards as well. That was like,
Yeah.
a goal. She had it outfit. We'd been shopping and everything. But
Oh,
yeah, I know.
that's so heartbreaking. Oh, I'm so
It
sorry. I
was.
can empathize with going through a wedding as well without
It's
both
horrible,
parents,
isn't it?
but to kind of but like my parents had been not long dead at that point, but like they had died. Like they weren't there's
Mm.
no chance of them coming. So to have that in your mind or there to even be a chance and then have it sort of just
Mm.
ripped away from you like that is and so shortly after is so
Yeah,
cruel. It's just yeah, one of those very,
yeah,
very
it was
cruel
awful.
aspects of grief.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
so
go on.
she so how old were you, when you were I think you said you were 34
Yeah,
when
yeah,
your mom passed away then? Okay,
yeah.
got it. So then had you so you got married, and then from that point, how long were you married to your late husband for, before he passed away?
It was less than 18 months. So we got married in
Okay.
the February, and he died the following August. So actually, yeah, 18 months.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
Uh,
I always want to tread very carefully with, just the topic of suicide. I myself, truthfully, am still like,
mm,
especially because it has hit close to home recently, whatever you're comfortable sharing, can you just talk to us a little bit about just that experience for you? Namely, you had mentioned it was like a great shock, and I've spoken to people here on the podcast, other guests who have lost a loved one to suicide, and some of them were shocked, but saw it coming, if you will, because they
mm,
had, like, struggled with their mental health or something like that. Were there any signs, if you will, that he was in a bad place, or how did that
no,
happen?
not at all, really. Can I just say as well, I'm glad your person's okay.
Thank you
I hope
so
they get
much.
through it
I
all.
am too. It's very, very scary, and
Yeah,
hopefully
I
they
do
stay
love
that way,
hearing.
but
I know.
it's gonna be a process, we know that,
Yeah,
which frightens me, but I'm very,
yeah,
very grateful they're here, so thank you.
yeah. I love hearing when someone survived, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
out of the woods, I'm sure, but it's good to
Mhm.
hear. But yes, no, nothing coming at all. He'd had a few mental health issues sort of in our early days, but nothing that would ever suggest that. Like he'd had a bit of treatment and he was fine.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, looking back, when you look in hindsight, there was maybe a couple of comments here and there, but nothing that would suggest that he was going to do that. When someone sort of like, had a drink the night before, and he'd said a couple of times, "Oh, if I died, you'd be okay, but if you died, I would
Oh,
never find anyone else." And I always thought it was quite strange, but he could be quite dramatic with hangovers, you know what I
mhm.
mean? He could, yeah, be a bit dramatic like that. So I just didn't really think anything of it. But yeah, absolutely no signs at all. But I do wonder, looking back, was it on his mind, and he was keeping it
Yeah.
all to himself?
That's awful,
Yeah.
and I feel like
Mm.
so many people do keep those things to themselves, and that's what it
Mm.
can be so, um, again, for lack of a better term, shocking and just so painful is that, especially for those of us who are the survivors of that, I guess, if you will, like,
Yeah.
we're then kind of left to question, was there anything I could have done differently? Is there anything we could have done to
Yeah.
prevent it? What did I do wrong? It's like all those what ifs
Mhm.
or if onlys, which I
Mm.
can only begin to imagine that you've maybe struggled with. So I know one of the things that we wanted to at least touch on in this episode was, just how difficult losing someone to
Mm.
suicide is. So can you just share a little bit, especially for anyone who, maybe has a family member that has had some mental health issues or has also lost a loved one to suicide, just I think this will be so validating for them today. Like,
Mm.
what was if there was one thing, this is a loaded question, but what has been some of the most difficult parts in losing someone to suicide in that way versus, losing parents are awful, of course, but
Mm.
losing someone to cancer versus suicide, those are two very different things. So what was sort of, I don't know, what has been your thought process through that?
Yeah. I think my most difficult emotion was anger. Um,
Yeah.
I really struggled with that. And I'm not a very good person at being angry. It's not something I deal with very well. So it was very confusing. Because I mean, we decided to have a baby together. We'd been through, like, recently been
Yeah.
through the loss of my mum with me, and
Mhm.
we'd planned this lovely life. Like, we decorated the nursery, and it was all planned out. And like, yeah, I was just so angry, like the sort of feeling abandoned, and just
Yeah.
so many different layers. Like, why didn't he talk to me? Why didn't he tell somebody? So I found the anger really difficult, and then because I'd feel angry, but then I'd be like, "Oh, but what must he have been going through?" And then I'd be sad, and then I'd feel
Yeah.
guilty for being angry, and it was just a sort of constant internal battle about it. And it's difficult to sort of voice that sort of angry feeling as well, because someone's died, and it's the worst
Right.
thing ever. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone was sort of struggling with that emotion, it's very normal.
Yeah, what a vicious cycle, like, and
Yeah,
I think
really.
I think that cycle that you just mentioned is so common for so many of us, even if it wasn't losing a
Mm.
loved one to suicide, like, it's just, if there were any complications with our relationships or whatever with them, whatever it was before they died, or just even the circumstances, right? We might just be
Mm.
mad with like God or the universe or whatever higher powers that
Yeah.
be for taking them from us, right? So we're so angry. My mom or my dad and I struggled with a little bit of anger around my mom's death because we felt like she could have gotten help for like GERD and like this acid reflux and stuff she was having that we don't know for a fact caused the esophageal cancer that she had, but like GERD is very related to the esophagus. So
Mm.
looking back, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some
Yeah.
connection there. But either way, we're like, why didn't you get help? Like she just wasn't really into Western medicine. So it
Mhm.
just, but there's a lot that we wanted to be angry about, but then but
Yeah.
it's exactly as you said. It's just like, But I don't wanna be angry with her, like, she died, that's bad enough, like, oh my god, I'm a horrible person, I feel so guilty for speaking ill of
Yeah,
her or feeling this way or whatever, and then we're sad and we're guilty, and then we feel so alone, and it's just like this
yeah,
horrible, horrible cycle that we have to go through. But you also then had this beautiful little baby inside you and then eventually out to take care of,
yeah.
so I mean, and the one of as you were speaking, one of the things that I definitely wanna ask you is who was your support system during all of this? Because, again, I mean, I can only begin to imagine, hardly losing a partner and then just, not having your parents. Like, I've had the child without my parents, but was
Mm.
fortunate to have a partner through that. So, just putting myself in your shoes is I mean, I have chills thinking about it. It's just so heartbreaking, and it's so much for one person to go through. So, what did your support system look like? Like, how did you cope after that?
Mm. So, yeah, my late husband's called Ant. His family were amazing. Like his mum was with me when Johnny was born,
Oh, good.
which was lovely, lovely. Like, yeah, talk about sort of like a bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
It's so
Oh,
beautiful, isn't it? A new life being brought in, but obviously it was just a big reminder of what had
yeah.
happened and his dad being missing. So, but in terms of support for me, it was friends and particularly my auntie as well. So my mum's
Mm,
sister, she was incredible. Like when I had Johnny, you know what it's like when
mm.
you've got a baby, you just want your mum, don't you? And you want someone
Yes.
to do what they did with you when you were little. So she
Yeah.
came up and spent the week with me, our first week, and that was lovely. She sort of knew she was the next best thing to my mum.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just friends. I lived a couple of hours away from my hometown at that point,
Mhm.
and friends would come up and just spend weekends with me. They'd come up and spend weeks, and yeah, it was just so nice. Like I just realised like what a great support network I've got, and yeah,
Yeah.
just the appreciation I've got for some of my friends and what they did for me. It's just
That's
yeah, it's
so
amazing.
beautiful. I'm so
Yeah.
happy you had that because I know not everyone does. And,
No.
or, they might have the support, but then there's a lot of like, you're going to be okay. You're strong. You've got this. It's like, was
Yeah.
any of that earlier grief from your early 20s, from like when your dad died, for example, like, did any of that come up throughout all of this? In terms of feeling the need to be strong, because I know us moms, even though I'm very, very new at this still,
Mhm.
we feel the need to be strong for everyone, especially
Yes.
our
Yeah.
babies, but,
Yeah.
strong for our partner, strong for ourselves, strong I mean, we carry so much. So,
Mm.
did any of that sort of resurface for you, or what were those first, few months and maybe first year like for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I remember someone actually saying to me not long after I'd found out that he died, "You need to stay strong for the baby." And I was like, "Wow, you can't say that to someone," like, as if, like,
No, so much
if I got too
pressure.
stressed out. I know, I know,
You're like, "I
I
know
know.
that, but only I can tell myself
Yeah,
that. I can't have other people putting that on me right now." Like,
I know, I know, don't get too upset or something terrible might happen, but, yeah, so there was a lot of pressure on that, yeah, and, like, because they said that to me, I just felt and I think that's maybe why my support network was so good as well because,
mhm,
I think everyone was actually really worried about me losing the baby,
of course.
so a lot of people keeping a good eye on me,
Yeah.
but yeah, in terms of that, you know what, I think like, when I lost my mum as well, I think I'd learned from how I was after losing my dad to really feel the grief
Mm,
and to not put it back to the back of your mind and to just feel it all and make sure that you're not pushing it back and you're not trying to be strong because it doesn't help, does it at all? It's not
right.
healthy.
It'll
um
resurface.
yeah, yeah, it was definitely resurface.
Definitely.
So I think that experience actually taught me in later losses to not push it back.
Yeah. Was there anything else, like, other than, the people around you and your support system, were there any more, like, I guess more like tangible, like tools or exercises or practices that you would do that sort of have helped you throughout your grieving experience. So, a lot of people, this is very cliche, but a lot of people are like love journaling, which I do as well.
Mm,
I swear by
yeah.
journaling. But were there any, just resources, things like that that you did or implemented that helped you through it at that time, or was that maybe there was, but like it didn't come until later on?
Mm. Definitely journaling in the early days. And I think, yeah, because it's such a blur, isn't it? And
Yes.
you don't remember things. And I wanted
Yeah.
to remember it. I
Oh,
actually started, yeah, journaling, and it was really with the aim of me looking back on it one day and
yeah.
being like, wow, I can't, to be proud of myself really, and
Yeah.
to remember that place. But yeah, that was a really big one for me. I tried counselling, and I had it with my mum and it was okay, but I had it after
Mhm.
Aunt died and it was just not good.
Couldn't.
No, yeah, I just don't think counselling is very helpful at all. And the doctor, the doctor offered me antidepressants, and I was like, I'm not depressed. Like,
Oh my god. So quick to just diagnose and treat and fix, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
There's not
exactly.
not that all therapists or counselors or whatever are like that, but, like,
Mm,
I definitely not. I know some that definitely don't do that, but, it's I feel like that's in America too. I think there's a lot of,
yeah, yeah,
it's very quick to like, "Okay, we'll just give you something to make you feel better," but it's a
yeah,
Band-Aid. It doesn't
yeah,
get
exactly.
to the root of the grief, the problem, if you will, It's like you're not really healing anything. You're just preventing it from getting worse, I guess, in the moment, or, they'll
Hmm.
prescribe sleeping pills if you can't sleep, but it's like, okay, but what are we doing to help ourselves long term? Like, that's not
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
be sustainable, or you get dependent on pills or something. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know, it's all about learning to live with it, isn't it? And not
Yeah,
trying to make it better.
yeah. Well, I
But
definitely
yeah,
wanna talk about
walking.
that. Yeah, I
I
wanna
was
get
just going to
into
say
that, but
walking was another big one for me as well,
oh,
like long
yes.
walks. Yeah.
Love that.
Um, it
Yeah,
was lockdown not long after Aunt died as well, and I just used
right.
to walk and listen to music, and just space and time to think.
Yeah. We grieved very similarly, you and I. I did the same thing. I listened to
Yeah,
podcasts or music or whatever. Walking was my saving grace,
me
100%. It
too.
kinda kept me going amongst other things,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think, and walking really can be sort of a form of meditation in a way.
Yeah.
You're just able to process things, think through things, and it's sometimes it moves the energy so it's not so stagnant, like, in your body and in
Yeah.
your mind, whereas, like, if we're just in the 4 corners of our house, like, that can really, just kinda eat away at us, a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm big
Yeah. If you can
recommendation
walk by
on walking
water
too.
as well, even better.
Yes, yeah, really. Yeah. The last thing I wanted to kind of talk to you about as far as like your journey with all of this goes is dating and remarrying after being widowed, because you mentioned that you are remarried now, and can you just talk to us a little bit about that, because I know there are people here, I've had other guests as well that were have been widowed and um end up going on to date, to get remarried, and I feel like there's, well, I have not been through it, so I can't speak to it, but from what I understand, there can be a lot of very conflicting thoughts and feelings in that process. There can be a lot of, guilt perhaps for moving
Mm,
on, so to speak, from your partner, even though you're very much carrying them with you. But, and then just other people's judgments and things, especially on, the timeline of which that should happen. And there's so much to unpack there. So can you just give us a little, just sort of glimpse into your experience with that?
yeah. So it was about a year for me. I just sort of like lost all my baby weight, and I was by no means sort of healed, or however you would say, but I was
Yeah.
sort of feeling a bit back to myself. And
Mhm.
yeah, I was just like, you know what, I wasn't really looking for a relationship. I was just like, I want
Yeah.
to feel like a woman again, really.
Mhm.
Flirt with someone, maybe go out for dinner or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, I met Warren pretty much straight away. He was the first person I met online.
Oh
And
my
even
gosh.
my dating online was a minefield, suicide, they were put widow, like things like that. And, had a young baby. But yeah, I was fortunate how quickly I found someone so amazing, really.
Yeah.
But in terms of like people's judgment and stuff, like we spoke about my mum moving on to meeting someone. She
Yeah.
met my stepdad after a year as well. So
Oh
because
my
I knew
gosh.
she'd done it, I kind of felt like she would be okay with it and she would understand. So for me, I
Yeah.
didn't really think about what anyone else thought because I knew
Good.
my mum my mum would be okay. So, but yeah, it definitely felt like it was sort of like, when you introduce him on social media and things like that, what would people
Mhm.
think? And having his aunt's family's feelings and stuff and taking that into consideration is, again, there's a lot to navigate there. But yeah, I just think
Yeah.
you've just got to go with what you feel, and anyone who hasn't been in that position can't comment really.
Cannot judge or comment.
No.
No. And I see a lot of
No.
that on social media from
Yeah,
some other,
yeah,
beautiful women who have lost their well, and mostly it's, of course, there's plenty of men that have lost their partners too, but a lot of the ones that I follow and I'm in touch with are women who lost their husbands, and, um, God, some of the comments they get or, or so
yeah,
they'll
I know.
share certain comments that they've gotten, and it is shocking. I mean, from
Yeah,
people that have also lost a spouse, but and then some who haven't. And I'm like, "What gives you the right?" I mean,
yeah, it's
it's
horrendous.
horrible. It's horrible,
Yeah,
and we all deserve love and companionship and, and especially you have a young child too, and then, like, I'm sure there's a consideration of, like, you would love to have him have a father figure of some kind perhaps
yeah,
or,
of course.
just yeah. So how can I just ask really quick too, like, how was it sort of incorporating him into, your I was gonna say your sort of world with your baby, but he was still pretty young at that point, so maybe
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't as maybe tumultuous as it would have been introducing a partner, like, later on if he were older, so maybe that was
Yeah.
kind of a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Johnny was only 8 months old, so
Yeah.
yeah, he's no different. But that's another thing. So we've talked to him about Ant, and he knows he had another daddy, we say,
Mm.
and he's seen photos and things. But then it's again, that's something for the future. It's navigating. He's too little to understand fully yet. He just he accepts it, and that's all he can do for now. But when he asks questions when he's getting older and things,
Yeah.
it's like bringing up a loss that he's never really experienced, that he didn't
Right,
know he
yeah.
had. Yeah, so yeah, that's going to be tricky, but just do our best. You know,
Yeah.
he's
That's
always,
all you can
he
do
can
as a
ask as
parent.
many questions as he wants, and always going to be as open with him as we can.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and I've talked to some people too that like kind of specialize in child's grief, and it's being very honest, even at a very young
Yeah,
age, about exactly what happened and even circumstances around it. I actually spoke to another mom recently too that lost her husband to suicide, and even those the kids were very young at the time, or maybe the oldest was 10. I'm trying to remember now, but either way, her youngest was still quite young, and they. Um, Kinda didn't hold back, to be honest, but she was like, "I'm
yeah,
so grateful we did that because in a way, it could have almost, like, re-traumatized them later on if they had found out, like,
yeah,
if they had used sort of fluffy language or, 'Oh, daddy's in heaven now,' or even
yeah,
kinda white lied about what really happened, and then to find out that he died by suicide, it's like
yeah,
and then that kind of, again, sort of re-traumatizes them a little bit, so I've heard from
yeah,
multiple very
definitely.
credible sources now that, like, just to be very, brutally honest with kids in
Yeah,
that way and try not to, sort of beat around the bush, but we wanna protect their little heart, so it's like, it's so hard
yeah,
not
I
to,
know,
wanna do that, but
I
thankfully yours
know.
is hopefully, it sounds like Johnny was young enough to
Yeah,
be a little bit
yeah,
more
and it's
protective
tricky
of
as
each
well. Like you don't, yeah, like he's 5 now. Like you don't want the 5-year-old understanding the concept of suicide, do you, at the minute?
Yeah,
But
my god.
I mean, but you can explain it as in he was, you can be sick in your body, but you can be sick in your head as well. That's
Yes, exactly. I think that's
how to
how
explain
the
it for now.
yes, the people I've spoken to have mentioned something like that, it has to be very age appropriate, of course.
Yes, yeah,
You don't wanna, like, completely ruin their life. But yeah, and doing that, and that's hard, right? We're adults. It's very, I think it's difficult to put ourselves in the mind of being 5 again. Like, what? That was a while ago. So, but it's so true. Like, you just have to do the best that you can with kids, and then for ourselves too, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
just doing our best day in and day out too. So, but you have just, I'd love to shift a little bit and kind of talk last about your new business, and
Yes.
really just how writing has helped you and just rediscovering hope after loss. I know that's sort of a big theme of the work that you do. So
Yeah.
I would love to talk about Love, Loss, and Disco Balls, I believe it's called, right? Which fabulous
Yes.
name. I'm so here for that. However much you want to share, like, please give us the behind the scenes of how that came to
Yeah.
fruition.
Yeah. So I had my page and I'd called it Love Lost Disco Balls for since I'd started it. And yeah, love and loss is obvious, but disco balls, we really like house music and
I love
dancing and
that.
things. But I also like the thing about disco balls being broken bits of glass put back together to be magical
Oh,
balls of light. I
that's
think that's a
beautiful. I was so excited to ask you about this too, because I was like, I got to figure out where she came up with this disco balls, other than disco balls just being so fun and
yeah.
bright and whatever. But I love that.
Yeah, it's such a great quote, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. But yeah, so Warren, that's my husband,
Mhm.
and I both sort of knew that we wanted to do something. He's lost his mum young as well, so
I was
he
gonna
knows
ask if
all about
he's
grief.
also been through some loss. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, so we knew we wanted to do something, but we didn't really have the idea. And I was writing a post on my Instagram page about a card that my friend had got me just after Aunt died and how awful the rest of the cards were, but this one that she got me really cheered me up. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, and then but he's a graphic designer and he's actually worked designing cards before.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, we were on holiday at the time and I just went running in and I was like, right, they got sympathy cards. And he was like, yes, that's it. It wasn't even like what you're talking about.
I
And then
love that. You
yeah,
guys are
it's
just been
just
so aligned from the beginning. That's amazing.
yeah, it feels like it. But yeah, so we started then. We launched officially in January, and it's just been going really well. We do a range of sort of support cards as well. So cards that for men to send to each other, and we donate to Campaign Against Living Miserably, which is a suicide prevention charity as well. So
It's
just
wonderful.
all ties in, and I feel like it's a great way of honouring Ant and something lovely
Mhm.
for Johnny to be proud of as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how beautiful. Wait, I mean, talk about creating purpose from pain, right? Which I
Yeah,
think a lot of
exactly.
people, question like, "Ah, what do I do now? How can I, tap into that? What can that look like for me?" And I always joke because a lot of the
Mm,
guests I have here, of course, we all like sort of quote work in the grief space, if you will. And I
yeah,
always joke,
yeah.
you don't have to necessarily create something grief related from your losses, but I love that you guys just let that come. It sounds like very organically. You're just like, we are coming from a place of service and heart. We know we want to help. We've been through some stuff, and
Yeah.
we just feel super aligned, but like just being very open to how exactly that looked for you guys in a way that made
Mm.
sense, and the fact that that came up for you on holiday is just fabulous, and
Yeah.
I love that. That probably just felt so empowering and,
Yeah,
just
it
yeah,
did.
I love that so
And
much.
yeah, I think, I don't know, you become a lot more spiritual, don't you? And in tune
Oh,
with
yes.
sort of, you know, the universe, I think. And I've just felt it behind us. I really have. And little signs I've got from Ant and things. It
Oh,
just feels right. And yeah,
yeah,
it's
that
really
you're just
special. It was,
going in the right direction.
yeah,
Yeah. I love those little nods kind of from our loved ones, from our universe. It's really very validating. But I think, one of the things I've been talking about a lot more just on social media and just even some of my offerings is like feeling very aligned. And I think, grief definitely can make us feel very misaligned energetically,
mm,
emotionally, mentally, all of the things. And it's very scary. It's very, it just completely disintegrates the stability that we felt that we had, or the foundation that we had laid, like with your late with Aunt. Like, it's just,
mm,
you it all seemed absolutely beautiful and perfect. It sounded like,
yeah,
you were
it
aiming
did.
towards something amazing, and that is just rocked, right? It's just rug pulled out from under you, and There's a lot of, I think, self-reflection and self-awareness and things that come up naturally if we open ourselves up to it when we go through a loss, and understanding what life looks like for us now and feels like now. And there's a lot of people that I talk to that, even if it's like just job loss or something like that, they're kind of like, we kind of go through like a little bit of a quarter life crisis, a midlife crisis, or whatever, this
Yeah.
moment of like, what am I doing here, really? What do I really want for my
Yeah.
life, and how can I think for a lot of us, it's also like, how can I make a difference? How can I,
Yeah.
make people feel less alone and more supported and everything? And you guys are clearly doing that, and in such a beautiful way. And not only for the people that buy your cards, but of course, most importantly, for the people that receive them. And it's not that
Mm.
typical, my condolences, my sympathies.
Yeah,
Like,
the
it's
deepest
like
sympathy.
eye roll. Like,
Yeah. And like some of the ones I received when Aunt died, it was like, yeah, the deepest sympathy on the loss of your husband. And it was just like, these aren't
oh,
made for me. These are making me feel worse because
yeah,
they're just highlighting that I'm too young. And I'm sure you had the same
yeah,
with your parents as well.
right.
Like,
Oh, it's
mm.
brutal. Just last question I have for you here. If somebody here is listening and and we can make this kind of broad, is struggling with a loss, namely of a loved one, perhaps even in a similar way that you have lost, your parents or your late husband, and or even going through, parenthood without a partner, kind of however you want to answer this, or again, it could be more broad. What would you what would you say to that person who's struggling right now? Is there maybe a word of wisdom, a perspective that you now have that you didn't before that you can share? A tip for coping with loss that has helped you? Like, what would you say to them right now?
Um, yeah, a couple of things really. I think one of them is just never sort of question how you're feeling.
Mm,
If you're feeling a certain way, that's fine. Just sort of sit with it. But then at the same time, you just try to remember that no feeling sort of lasts forever as well, and there is hope.
absolutely.
Um, and yeah, I think when people say time's a healer, it is in a way, but you do have to play a active part in it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think just talk to people, just be brave as well. If you need something from someone, people don't always understand, so you need to sort of feel like you can ask for help, and
Yeah.
don't be afraid to talk to people. Chances are most people do want to listen, they just don't know what to say. So yeah,
Great
just
point.
keep the faith in yourself, really, and
Yeah.
yeah, just
Thank you for
things
bringing thank
will
you for
get
bringing
better.
that up, because I think it is, that bravery to ask for help cannot be overstated enough, and I that is coming from someone who hates asking for help. Like, I will
Same.
bend over backwards to do things myself before I will inconvenience someone else, and I don't know why
Mm,
that is. I think I get that from my parents a little bit, but there's no shame in that. We're one person, we can't do it all. We're already coping with so much. And I also loved what you said about, just being very confident in how you feel, and kind of
mm,
moving through life sort of unapologetically. Like, nope, this is how I'm feeling right now in this moment. I know this is going to evolve and change. And I also love what you said about, knowing and recognizing, like, okay, this is a moment in time. I am feeling sad and so heartbroken right now, but
mm,
in 10 minutes, I might be feeling some joy, okay? Like, it
yeah.
just allowing that light and that energy in, because, I've noticed a lot of people can be very closed off to that as they're grieving,
Mm,
rightfully so, right? We don't even feel like we
yeah.
have it in us to tap into that again, and I totally get that, and I honor that fiercely. But with time, as you mentioned too, it is very important to open ourselves up to that, and know that that's out there for us, and
Yeah.
kind of being willing to put in a little bit of work. Like, I completely agree. It's definitely not like a time heals all wounds by itself type of
No,
situation.
no.
Time does help, 100%. But it's those learnings along the way, and it's that open heartedness to whatever could be out there for us. Just like you did in finding a new partner too. It's like you just
Yeah.
never know what love and opportunity and abundance could come into your life if you allow that in. So
Yeah.
I yeah, just being crack that door open today. Anyone here
Yeah,
listening
yeah,
who's maybe struggling with that. I love
yeah. It's still
everything
so
you
hard
said
to
there.
think that in the early days, though, isn't it? It's pretty
Oh,
impossible,
yeah.
really. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, it's hard going through multiple losses, but I think once you've been through one or two, you've got
Unfortunately.
evidence that it does get better. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
not a
Got a
bonus,
couple
but
losses under
you
my
do
belt.
know.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on today
Oh,
and
thank
sharing
you.
your story and all of the beautiful work that you're doing. And I really hope
Mhm.
everyone goes and checks out your cards. And speaking of that, where can people find you? Where can people find the cards and just connect with you if they want to get to know you more?
Yeah, so my Instagram page is just Love Lost Disco Balls, and the same for the card website as well. So yeah,
Amazing.
check us
Easy. I
out,
love it.
and thank you so much.
Of course. Well, that'll be linked in the show notes as well. But again, thank you so much for your time and honesty today. I really appreciate it. And it was such a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, you too, Tara. Thank you so much.
I am sending you a huge thank you for tuning into today's episode, my friend. I'm so grateful you're here and for the steps you're taking to heal your heart, open your mind, fulfill your soul, learn, grow, and evolve, and move through this crazy thing called life in big, beautiful, impactful ways. Visit lossesbecomegains.com for my blog, more coping tools, ways to work with me, and so much more. And be sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook at Losses Become Gains, and on Instagram and TikTok at Life with Grief Podcast. I love seeing new faces, meeting new people, hearing your stories, and supporting you however I can. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this episode or this podcast with someone who could use it too. And remember to always keep asking yourself, how will I turn my losses into gains today? I'll catch you in the next episode.